Uh, this is not on topic, not at all on topic. And it's kind of thrown me for a loop already. But I'm not
Well,
going to worry about
let's.
it. I'm not going to worry about it because it doesn't matter. It's all working out all the
But
time.
why worry?
Why
Now,
worry?
there's a topic.
Yeah, I thought it was clever. I thought it had possibilities. Um, but I find that I worry a lot more than I would like to admit. But I feel like I'm always thinking about something or worried about how something's going to play out, or even just running scenarios through my head. What if? And I don't even know. It's just like this spin of worry. And I got a fresh example of why worry this past week. So recently, and you know this, but not many other people know this, but recently I decided that I'm going to re-enter the workforce on a part-time basis. At least that was my hope, so that I could stop worrying about not making consistent money all the time. Like, so my income has been like this throughout the year, and those dips that are low can cause me a little bit of
Worry.
consternation. Is that a good word? Yeah, worry, to be simple. So I wanted to try to eliminate that. So I decided to re-enter. I just finally decided to send my resume to a very specific person. I got a little bit of help with how I wanted to write it, and then finally got it off to him. And within the matter of like a couple of days, I already had a text from him, wanting to know a little more specifics about what I wanted and what uh, what I was willing to do and stuff like that. And before I even answered that text, I had an email in my inbox. Sorry, a voicemail on my voice box from somebody who was interested in exploring if I was a good fit for for her organization. So I was kind of blown away by the speed of what was showing up, even though I'm not even sure what I'm looking for. Um,
Oh, and things were appearing regardless because you weren't really focused on what
well, I
you were
mean,
wanting. And
I
yet,
have a history of working in facilities management and stuff like that. So I mean, my resume is half that and half coaching and facilitation and training. So I'm kind of hoping that I can use both of these things in whatever uh, workplace I end up going to. I mean, a lot of those things are transferable anyways. But so I sent it off, and I got this really quick reply, and I ended up setting up a meeting via voicemail with this woman. And sorry, I got to say this. I was so nervous when I left the voicemail that I was just word vomit. I don't even know what was coming out of my mouth. And
oh,
if you've ever had the experience of you've got two words in your head, but they both come out as one word, they're like,
yes, I certainly know that.
I
Yep.
felt like I was meeting a girl for the first time, and like I had put all my eggs in this basket. Like, she's the one. I better not screw this up. I don't know. I couldn't speak. Anyways, so I'm doing for the next day or so is just worrying about this meeting. Uh, um, and we ended up setting up a chance to meet face to face, at least on the computer. And I was going through all these scenarios in my head of how I want to show up and what should I say, and am I going to fit in, or uh, like I better make this work, or like I don't want to screw this up. That kind of a worry. And I ended up having the call with her, and we started out on the phone, and then she said, "Hey, well, I should send you a video chat. We should do that instead." I'm like, "Perfect, let's do that." And from that moment forward, it was easy. All the
Hmm.
preparation that I had done didn't matter. It didn't really matter. There's a couple things that I did kind of hone in on that I thought were important because they were important to me, like the vision and the mission of that particular organization. They kind of lined up with me, and I wanted to make sure that I let them know that, um, and a couple of other things. But nothing crazy. I could have written those things on a post-it note to remind myself, as opposed to the reams of paper of me writing out how should I word that, and how can I get my point across, and how am I going to tell them what I'm good at.
And not only the reams of paper, but the reams of paper that were inside your head that you'd obviously played all that out on as well.
Part of the reams of paper was me trying to get out, to get it out of here and put it somewhere else, so that I could put this thing away for a little while. And it was so weird how easy it was, and all the stuff that I worried about didn't matter. Why worry, right? Like, I don't want to work a full-time work week. I only want to work like 3 days a week. I don't want a long-term commitment. I want this to be short-term because I still want to work on my business. And a couple of other things. And she's like, you know what, this organization, we don't like, I've got a short-term need to get me from here to there. I don't need somebody in there all the time. We just want somebody to be in the office 3 days a week. Anyways, it was like this weird synergistic thing that was happening that I can't even explain, but I worried about it for nothing. Absolutely for nothing. And when we got to the end of the conversation, we spent so much time chatting that we didn't get to the work stuff, really. We had to set up another call for 2 days later.
But the rapport is great.
Yeah, that part was good. And I said, you know what? I don't know if you're open to this or not, but because you don't have a physical position for this, we're kind of creating it on the fly. Would you want to get together and talk about, like, create this together? And she's like, yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's do that, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, what were you worried about?
Because here you are in complete empowerment of this position appearing in a way that you can help create.
Now, we've had that second call, and there is some stuff that I'm going to have to do that is maybe not on the top of my list. However, I wouldn't be getting this opportunity if it wasn't a good opportunity for me. Like, I have to trust that there's more to this than just that. There's no way that my resume went out to this one person who sent it to his sister, who sent it to her employee, and then I have that call like literally within hours. If there wasn't something to it that wasn't beyond my control, right?
Well, it's the we often think we think we do something for one reason, but we continue doing it for another reason. So even when you think that you're going to have to do something and you go, I don't know if I really want to be doing that, but there's another reason that has to happen.
Yeah.
And so there's always a win, even if initially you think it's a bit, oh, I don't know about that. So there will be something else that another bigger reason why this is such a good fit.
Right. And to help calm me down, I did have a conversation with a colleague and friend of mine to help me come up with some of the things that I'm good at that I couldn't, like my blind spots. Because she, yes, had all the things that I had on there, but she had a couple nuanced things that were good for me to hear. But it wasn't those things that really mattered. It was when she said something like, you may not want this job for the reasons you think you want it, or that you think you need it. Something to that effect. And it wasn't the words, it was just like, it struck me as like, oh, like it might not be about just the money that I'll get for the 90 days of work that I'll have there. It's not that. It's you're now expanding yourself up to another group of people, right? You now have a bigger audience. I'm not saying I'm going to be selling my services within that department. It doesn't work like that. But I now have more exposure to more people who get to hear me, get to know me. I get to know them. So it could be a springboard to something else.
Oh, it will be a springboard to something else. It's not a might, it just will be.
So before I had all this enlightenment about the situation, I was worrying about, okay, just like the few things that I know are coming as far as work tasks, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I've never done those things. I'm going to have to figure them out. And I'm starting to do research now to try to prep me for then. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You're doing the same thing. You're worried about something that's in the future that you don't even know what it's there for. And you're trying to prepare yourself to be safe. But I'm not falling anywhere. There's nowhere to go. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Like, why does it have to be a big thing?
And if it doesn't technically work out, let's say it's 90-day
I know
contract,
I'm using air quotes a lot, but I mean, I don't know what working out is.
If it doesn't work out, maybe it was to work out for 2 weeks, and then that was the exposure time that was required, and we get caught up on what it should be compared to what the existence needs to be. Yeah. And worry, I think you're right on it. Why we worry is to keep us safe. I was thinking about it earlier, and I was going, that's, because there's so many, I love the topic name because there's so many different interpretations about how I could have even read why worry. And I was like, but what is the actual purpose for worry? I wanted to think about that before I got on this call. And it's to keep us safe. That's the one I came up with. That's why I seem to worry. Because I worry about, I don't know, I flew back from Adelaide, which is a 2.5-hour flight. And a worry occurs to me. Will I make it back to Brisbane? Will the plane fall out of the sky? Seriously, I have no control on that. Once I'm on that plane, the pilot, that's it. Right? What can I do about it? I can't do anything about it. So instead of letting that worry be predominant, I enjoyed the music I could play through my noise cancelling headphones and the food that I was given and other things. And so I changed the focus away from whether I was going to be safe. And surprisingly, I made it back to Brisbane. But yes, I think why we worry is to keep us safe.
Safe from
I also safe from the unknown. So that's part of the reason the planning, and full disclosure, I'm a planner from way back. Seriously, throw spontaneous things at me and it can be dangerous. So planning is a thing I do a lot. I don't always see it as worry. I see it as strategic, but that might be a bit of a distortion.
Strategic worry.
That's my definition of scenario running. Because I like to, I feel more comfortable when I've got more than one option available to me. So it does seem to be about the safety or the fear of the unknown, and wanting some tangible, can I grab hold of this? So that's a bit of the why we worry. I also, there's another element to this that I think happens, and I could hear it in your story. We worry. Now, worry are thoughts, and we put meaning onto the thoughts. So we put more weight onto them than they necessarily need. Now, I have not met a human that doesn't think. Everyone does all the thinking. I'm sure there's a couple out there that don't think, but most people do a lot of the thinking. And what the difference is where people put different weight on those thoughts. And we have thoughts going through our heads constantly.
Mm.
It just depends on what we decide is really vital and really important. And that's where the problem comes, is when we weight something, when we decide it's relevant. And that, I think, is the difference between thought and making it a worry.
And that weight for me, I have two things written down here that I wanted to go over. The weight for me was my attachment to the outcome, right? Like if I don't show up in a certain way that they get, so that they want me, right?
Yep.
Because I need that job, I need that money, I need whatever that, like putting all that weight.
All the eggs in the one basket, like this is the only thing I have. Yep.
Right. So I put a weight in the outcome. And that's obviously for me, that's why I was nervous about having the call or whatever, because the self-imposed pressure that I put on myself to
and then those other
out.
thoughts then get jumbled because there's so much going on that you can't get the clarity around what it is you wanted to articulate.
And then the other part of that was, and it did come out in my writing. So the writing did have value. It just didn't need to be as much paper, I don't think, was the thought about being authentic. And it didn't come out like that. It came out like, how can I show up so I can be authentically me, tell my story, but not sound like this job is just a pain in the ass and I just need the money or whatever. Like, how can I show up authentically?
Legitimately finding the area of that job that you'd really actually align with, rather than just needing it for money.
Right. So, and then she asked me at one point, she goes, why do you want this job? And I, or like, why are you looking for work? And I was very candid with her. And I said, you know what? Business has been a hard road to hoe. And it's been the peaks and valleys have been too far apart. And I really want that to smooth out. So I want something that I can contribute with my history and my knowledge and my experience to somebody who needs it, but on a part-time basis, so I can still do the other work that I still want to continue to do. And it was received well. But it took me forever to kind of, in my mind, like formulate how I could say it and be authentically me and believe it. And like, I didn't want to be blowing smoke up their ass. That wasn't the point. It was, I want to show up in an authentic way so they can get to know me and I can get to know them. And then we can decide if this is a thing that it could work. Instead of being attached to the outcome and needing the girl's phone number at the end of the night. You know what I mean? Like it. And if you don't get the number, then, everything goes to hell. So yeah, it didn't. I got the number.
And so the other thing I thought I would be good to contribute here is that, like, we can almost justify why that worry plays out. And we can see some of the disadvantages in how that worry for you kind of scrambled your brain when you were initially responding to her. Obviously, being able to offload it a little bit and having a good conversation once you did the video chat, that's great. But you can see how the worry kind of didn't necessarily positively serve you in the first bit. But there are other circumstances that I know, I mean, whenever either you or I suggest a topic, it, makes me go, oh, I wonder where has that topic been showing up for me? And sure, there's the more innocent worries about flying back home worry. Then there's bigger ones. Well, they feel bigger. So this is why I thought I'd share them. Worry about my mother-in-law and how she's going to go over this next 6 to 12 months with her partner not being well and that not looking good at all. We're down to weeks now rather than months. And I'm not worried about him. I'm worried about her. Mm-hmm. And yet when I'm sitting here listening to what your insights have been, it's like I can't change what she's going to do or where she's going to show up or whether she's going to want to be in bed for 2 weeks because she hasn't had any sleep for 3 years. Or, you know, I can't worry about that. We just have to take what we have in front of us for what we have in front of us. I mean, the other concern I would put it in is we're down to weeks, not months with him, and I'm traveling in a couple of weeks' time. And I'm like, oh, well, I don't want to be away if something happens. And it's like, seriously, the world keeps spinning. Events happen. Something could happen to my daughter or someone else I know while I'm away. I don't need to stop my life because something might happen. Because something might happen is going to happen anyway.
for sure.
And so I find that what did I have yesterday? Yesterday I had some dental work done, and I'm not good with the dentist thing. Even the dental assistant went, I used to work in retail and I'm so used to people enjoying coming in. She said, no one really enjoys coming in here, do they? And I went, nope. And I'm worried about how I'm going to cope with having my mouth manipulated for 2 hours and all the rest of it. And, you know, my first thing when I get out of that surgery, send a message to hubby, I survived. Of course I was going to survive. I was getting a couple of needles that were numbing the area. It's all good to go. Like, really? And yet I'd worked myself up into, this is stressful. I'll make the appointment at 8:30 in the morning. I'd get it over and done with for the day, blah, 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 blah. All unnecessary stress.
Yeah, and it compounds, right? So oftentimes when I'm thinking about this extra stuff, I have trouble turning it off, and I will either have trouble falling asleep or will wake up and I'll basically already thinking about it. So those I find super annoying, especially when I know that things are so far off. Because let's say a couple of days ago, I'm worried about what I don't know about the job that I'm going to get. It's still 2 weeks away. Like, what?
Yes. Why are you preparing for something that you... So the other example I have...
Why worry?
That's relative to this, like, is that
I want to laugh at myself so that I like kind of go, ha ha, like, let it go. Like,
let it go, right?
Anyways.
I'm prepping some lesson plans at the moment. Now, I'm not actually trained in doing lesson plans at all. I've never done them before in my life. I've facilitated a lot of things, but I have created guidelines of a program that I want to run a team through, but that's really different, I'm learning, to what a lesson plan is. And so I'm part of a team where, you know, there's 8 lesson plans that have to be developed. We have 2 each. That's it, only 2 each. But I'm the one in the group that's never done it before. But, you know, every time I come across a snag, or I give it a go, and then I send it on to one of my buddies and go, well, this is what I've done, but I don't know that it makes complete sense yet. Oh, not a problem. Let me have a look at that. Oh, yeah, what we want to do is we want to make sure that this says this bit, and oh, that reminds me, I've got to add that into mine as well. And so it's almost like the thing that I don't feel like I have the skill for, because I don't have previous experience, because I'm asking what I perceive as ridiculous questions, because I don't know any better, it's actually helping everyone else do a better job, because they're not allowed now to skip over these things that they're just either not seeing or forgotten that might be important. And so there's actually a benefit in me not knowing how something is written. Me not knowing how to write a lesson plan is making everyone else's lessons plans better.
Is serving others.
And so it's like, oh, the little stress bunny that I was 3 weeks ago when I was trying to put a lesson plan together. I seriously would sit down and look at it for 10 minutes, and then I'd have to walk away and walk around the house for 5 minutes before I go and tackle it again, because I got my head so messy about, oh, I don't know what this looks like, and I can't. When you were describing the thoughts getting in the way of, verbal diarrhea, really, it was thought diarrhea for me. I just couldn't get clarity. I couldn't see what I needed to write. And then once I moved past that, there was just this, oh, this is actually really helpful for others, for me not to know it, because I ask questions that help them.
Mm-hmm. I think that there's an interconnectedness to all of this that I'm not great at articulating, but your lack of knowledge there served others. Me finally being willing to put my resume out to this person, got to that person, they're inviting me in. They may think they're hiring me for one thing, but maybe they're hiring me for other things.
And it just doesn't, yes, that hasn't had a chance to show up as yet.
It hasn't unfolded yet. I'm trying to have everything set up and perfect and organized before I've even been given the task to do it or sign the contract. Which is absurd. It's like planning a trip in Vancouver from here before I got there and not knowing that the city's under construction. Like it doesn't, like you can't plan for it. So just go, and then you'll open your GPS and you'll figure it out. Like you'll do the thing.
And so what I'm hearing in both of our stories, multiple stories that we're sharing about this worry, is as soon as we've owned the worry, everything clears. So we just maybe need to own the worry quicker. Because as soon as that worry is identified and owned as a worry, then everything settles and you can see clearly.
I really like that, and it resonates because I was holding on to, I knew that this conversation with this person was going to happen, and I was in the middle of doing a workshop for several hours, but it was still like in my head that I wanted to ask this person just to have a conversation to kind of unclutter my brain and to help me out a little bit. And I didn't feel good until I made the request, because then it was out. Even though I had it written down, I had a sticky note here, like I knew I was going to ask, but until I voiced it, it was still stuck inside. Yeah. So that voicing of it was kind of like a release of it. And then, whatever, we had our conversation, but yeah.
Yes. And so I think that's the key to moving beyond the worry. I am yet to discover how to not worry. So I still have worries, but I do tend to catch them fairly quickly.
Can't change
it. I haven't yet discovered how not to have them.
Like maybe worry has a purpose, but maybe its purpose is outlived. So yes, you want to stay safe. So I understand, like, you get to the edge of a cliff, be worried, okay? Because if you keep going, you're done. But that's healthy. But when you carry it with you inside, that's where it becomes unhealthy.
Yeah.
So figuring out a way to at least notice yourself in it, stop yourself.
And seeing whether it's serving you, whether it's actually being helpful. If it's not helping you, getting to the edge of the cliff and you worry, that helps you, because then you don't go over the cliff.
That's hopefully the right decision.
But maybe when I'm not written a lesson plan before and I don't know how to do it, maybe I don't have to worry about that because my world is not, I'm not going to fall off the cliff.
Right. The real dangers versus the perceived ones.
I think
And it's the
so.
perceived ones, I think, that cause us the most internal struggle.
Agreed. So
So
let's go. Why worry?
why worry? Why worry?